We sold about $46 million worth of that shelf registration in the past quarter, and we just disclosed that today. The decision as to how we acquire Bitcoin and how we manage, asset sales, debt, or equity is a bit complicated because it's market driven. The nice thing about the equity is it's permanent capital flowing into the Bitcoin ecosystem, and it's permanent capital that flows into the MicroStrategy enterprise. So there are no redemption rights, there's no dividend associated with it. It's, in essence, the $46 million this quarter is $46 million of capital that we have forever.
Hey guys, welcome back to Library of Wealth. Today we have Michael Saylor on why MicroStrategy has sold a portion of its Bitcoin holdings for the first time ever. On December 22nd, the software firm sold 704 Bitcoin, yielding close to $11.8 million, according to a filing on Wednesday. MicroStrategy then turned right around on December 24th and bought 810 Bitcoin for around $13.6 million. This comes in addition to the 2,395 Bitcoin tokens they purchased between November 1st and December 21st for $42.8 million. On Wednesday, Michael Saylor held a Q&A on Twitter Spaces to discuss his role at MicroStrategy and why the sale of part of their Bitcoin holdings took place, despite Saylor's assertion earlier this year they wouldn't sell. Saylor responded to the Bitcoin sale the same day, tweeting that MicroStrategy had actually increased its holdings by 2,500 Bitcoin as of December 27, 2022, of which they now hold a total of 132,500. Let's get right into the interview with Michael Saylor, as he answers questions on why they ended up selling, as well as the outlook in 2023 for MicroStrategy and for Bitcoin. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content we do here on this channel. Let's get right into the video.
Well, Bitcoin's treated as property right now, so that means that you can sell the property, take the capital loss, and you have the option to buy property in the future or to have bought it in the past, and that's a different tax basis. So we have some capital gains that we pay taxes on, and then we have some capital losses in the Bitcoin. So by selling the Bitcoin and taking the capital loss, we're able to use that to offset some capital gains. So it's very tax efficient for the corporation. First of all, I'm still the controlling shareholder of MicroStrategy, so I have the majority of the voting shares, and I'm still a full-time employee. So executive chairman means that you're actually a full-time employee of the company. The reason that we did that is because the company now has two different businesses. It has a business intelligence business, which is the one that I started 30 years ago. And it's 2,000 people, and it's thousands and thousands of customers, and it's all over the world. And it requires a lot of intense activity and very hands-on. Like you're doing thousands of deals every year, and you're hiring and firing hundreds of people or more. And you're responsible for thousands of partners, thousands of customers, thousands of employees and the like, and you have to be very laser-like focused on that business. And we can't not do that. It's the cash cow, and it generates the revenues of the company and generates cash flows. And of course, we have an obligation to our customers. The second business that we have, though, is our Bitcoin strategy, which is a pretty novel new business strategy. And that's also a full-time job, keeping up with Bitcoin, educating on Bitcoin, and then working through the capital markets issue of Bitcoin and the communications of it requires a lot of intensity. So the reason that we did this, and it was my idea to do it, is it was good for the business intelligence business to have a full-time hands-on leader, and that's who Phong is. It's also good for me to be able to focus all of my efforts on Bitcoin without creating the appearance or the actual circumstance where I'm not paying enough attention to the core business intelligence business. And this way we can have our cake and eat it too. I think Phong is very good at what he does, and it was natural career progression for him. And it's a natural career progression for me to focus upon our Bitcoin strategy and Bitcoin in general.
Can you articulate a little bit in more detail what the Bitcoin strategy is for MicroStrategy, and apropos of today's announcement, how you envision using equity and debt to pursue that strategy?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, our strategy is acquire and hold Bitcoin, and that's the corporate version of stay humble and stack sats. So we're going to continue to dollar cost average at the corporate level into Bitcoin, and the agenda or the goal is just to continue to build a larger and larger Bitcoin-backed treasury. And you can read that in our filings. There are a few moving parts on this, right? If it was as simple as we're simply going to sweep our cash flows into Bitcoin, that's the same as just saving your excess salary in Bitcoin year after year after year for 30 years running. It's very simple. But the thing that makes it a bit more complicated as a corporation is we have cash flows that come from other asset sales, and we have the ability to buy and sell assets and use them to buy Bitcoin. For example, we sold voice.com, that domain, for $30 million. Some of that money found its way into Bitcoin. We do have the cash flow of the core business, but we also have the ability to issue various debt instruments and various equity types. So, the debt could be convertible debt, it could be senior secured debt, it could be any other kind of secured debt. In fact, we did a Bitcoin-backed loan, we did a junk bond that was secured, and then we did a couple of convertible debt offerings. And then, of course, we can issue equity, and the equity gets issued in various ways, but the most straightforward is an at-the-market shelf registration, where we have the ability to sell equity into the market from time to time. And we had $1 billion at-the-market shelf registration last year, and we sold $1 billion of that equity at prices in excess of $700 a share. And then we have a $500 million equity shelf registration outstanding right now.
After MicroStrategy racked up close to $1 billion loss in the second quarter of 2022, it left many investors speculating as to the outlook for one of the largest holders of Bitcoin. Saylor goes on to discuss the reason for the sale of 704 of their Bitcoin and MicroStrategy's plan for the coming year, and why the shareholders are a major part of it.
Well, Bitcoin's treated as property right now, so that means that you can sell the property, take the capital loss, and you have the option to buy property in the future or to have bought it in the past, and that's a different tax basis. So we have some capital gains that we pay taxes on, and then we have some capital losses in the Bitcoin. So by selling the Bitcoin and taking the capital loss, we're able to use that to offset some capital gains. So it's very tax efficient for the corporation. MicroStrategy is fairly unique in that it's an operating company with a Bitcoin strategy. We're not an SEC 40 reporting company, so we're not an ETF. And if you were not an operating company, you wouldn't kind of have the flexibility or as much flexibility to do things like this. And because we generate capital gains or we generate various tax gains in other parts of our business, then acting in a tax efficient way is good for our shareholders. So we look at our overall situation, and we've got corporate opportunities in the area of tax, and then there are market conditions we have to consider. And our view toward tax management is we want to be measured, but we want to be flexible. That means you have to be kind of thoughtful and responsible when you consider these opportunities. So we wouldn't do anything at any time, but there are particular opportunities, particular times where it makes sense, where I feel like it's prudent, good for the shareholders, and we can manage the risk of it.
Although Saylor appears to not be fazed about the recent selling and buying of Bitcoin by MicroStrategy, on-chain analyst Willy Woo appears to have major reservations about it. He recently tweeted, "Bitcoiners shouldn't be celebrating MicroStrategy buying more Bitcoin. It poses centralization risks. Even though it's publicly traded and owned, its decision-making is centralized. Bitcoiners should celebrate its adoption by ordinary people using it to solve problems. Cornering the market on an asset means you control the market. I'll give another example. Imagine if we found out the US government had bought 50% of all Bitcoin in existence. Do you think it would continue to be adopted by other nation-states as a coin with no political alignments? What do you think? Does Willy Woo make a valid case for MicroStrategy's Bitcoin purchase? Comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Library of Wealth. We'll see you in the next video.